Welcome to the Neanderthal saga, where evolution takes an unexpected turn and destiny lies buried beneath the California mountains. In a world where ancient warriors evolved far beyond our understanding, two civilizations are about to collide, and survival depends on the most primal of connections. Join us as we follow Veronica, a single mother hiding her own devastating secret, and Navia, a socialite running from scandal, as they discover a crystal-lit world where 7-foot warriors with healing powers challenge everything they thought they knew about human history and desire. And now, Episode 1. The Fall. Veronica. The early morning sun filtered through my kitchen window, casting long shadows across the counter where Mrs. Quentin's bone broth steamed in my favorite mug. I brought it to my lips and blew, pretending each ripple carried away the words that had shattered my world last night. Stage 4. Aggressive treatment needed. Time is essential. Dr. Vincent's voice still echoed in my head, clinical and detached, as if he hadn't just told me my white blood cells were staging a revolt against my body, as if he hadn't just handed me an expiration date along with his after-hours email address. "I have to make this work," I whispered to the broth, watching the herbs swirl like tea leaves that might tell me a better fortune. "I don't know if they'll be able to manage without me." "They will be fine, dear." Mrs. Quentin's warm voice startled me. She stood by my front door, concern etched deep in her wrinkled face. Her hands found my shoulders and they dropped instantly. I hadn't realized how tense I'd been holding myself since the news. "Do they have a plan for you?" she asked, her eyes carrying that grandmotherly wisdom I'd come to rely on since moving into the building. I met her gaze, grateful for her steady presence. "Yeah, Dr. Vincent's office sent an email overnight. Things should get started after the long weekend. After this one last adventure with my girls. I'll figure out how to tell them their mother is—" My chest tightened at the thought, but Mrs. Quentin was right. I had to stay strong. If they saw fear in my eyes, they might fall apart before it even got tough. My ears perked at the familiar croaking of pipes as the shower shut off upstairs. My eldest was always up first, and today was going to be an adventure the entire family needed. I needed. "Thanks for bringing these by." I gestured to the pastries she'd brought along with the broth. "Are you sure Mr. Q is okay with you sharing his morning treats with us?" She laughed, her eyes crinkling shut as she held her chest. "My sweet husband eats enough sweets as it is. Take him for a snack for your hike." "Thanks again," I managed, and she patted my lower back as she left. I shut the door on all the emotions threatening to spill over, all the fears about leaving my girls alone in this dangerous world without me. I sipped the rest of the bone broth she'd insisted would help, just like the long nature walks I'd started a few months ago when the fatigue first hit. I was doing everything I could to give my body the best chance at living, even as it seemed determined to betray me. "Mom, where's my pink Merrills? I want to wear them today." I turned to see my eldest Lila, mostly dressed in bright orange leggings and one missing sock, her energy a stark contrast to the heavy thoughts weighing me down. "It's by the door, sweetie," I called back, grateful for the distraction. I busied myself preparing lunches for our upcoming hike, each careful fold of a sandwich wrapper, a small act of love. Each snack tucked away, a promise that today would be perfect. Today had to be perfect, because tomorrow I would have to tell them the truth. As I worked, I hummed a tune to myself, enjoying the peacefulness of the morning. I paused to grab a few bottles of water from the fridge and placed them in a cooler bag, along with some ice packs to keep everything cool. Satisfied with my preparations, I zipped up the bag and set it by the door, ready to grab on our way out. "Did you plan on letting the entire building know about your red thongs too?" My youngest Chloe slouched into the corner kitchen chair, hair still a mess with an attitude to match. My firstborn's eyes widened. "Shut it before I do it for you." Lila, I gave her a stern eye, and she let out a deep sigh. Are you ready to practice our positive words today? Me? She was the one who came in with her Grinch attitude. I don't know why I have to go. I don't even have any Merrills, Chloe whined. And there it was, the reason for her sour mood after our impromptu hiking booking. I walked over to my youngest and pulled her into a hug. I love you, Chloe Poe, and I'm so happy to see you today. Please do this for me, dear. I felt her body relax into my arms as I stroked her hair. And yours came in overnight. It's by the door. She rushed out my arms with a quickness leaving my heart aching. I often looked at my girls and knew I had done right. Being a teen mom hadn't been easy, but I gave it my all and knew it was worth it. I fought hard and never listened to the judgment of others. The thought of leaving when their life had only just begun was a torment I never knew existed. Even at 19 and 20, my daughters still needed me. My chest ached as the tears began to pool in my eyes, but I couldn't show it, sniffling them away. Today is going to be an amazing day, girls. I feel it in my bones. Of course it is. This trail is going to be epic. I can't wait to see some of the caverns they've closed off. Lila stepped back into the entryway, fully dressed and her hair pulled back into a slick bun. Chloe sighed. How are you, my sister? Mom, Lila is planning to take us down some super creepy mine shaft and we're going to get lost. I looked down at her own Merrills, all black, not pink like her sister's. Don't even go there. I never said anything to you about getting lost. Lila spoke and popped one of the cherry tarts into her mouth. I patted her hand. No more fussing. I looked at the clock on the wall. We had 20 minutes to head out. Girls, get everything you need. You never know how long we will be gone, I said, trying to keep my voice steady as I remembered Dr. Vincent's words from last night about my white blood cell count. Chloe laughed. Good one, Mom. But her laughter died off. It left me with my thoughts of leaving them alone in this world. The entrance to the park was crowded with cars, and my body spiked with adrenaline. More people would be on the trails. Unlike my youngest, being in nature away from the busyness of life brought me back to myself. I felt aligned in my body and soul. Oh, great, there goes the cell coverage. I looked in my back mirror, Chloe sulking further into the back seat. This weekend has to work. We need to connect as a family if we were to survive my illness. Do you think we'll see one today? Chloe looked up, met my gaze, and failed to hide her smile. When she was younger, seeing bunnies on our hikes was always the highlight for her, and normally the only way I could get her to go anywhere. If bunnies were there, Chloe would be thrilled. Lila chuckled next to me, but got out of the car without saying anything smart. I don't know why you're trying so hard, Mom. I'm here, aren't I? I watched as she slumped down further into the seat. Be present today, hun. That's all I ask. We both got out and threw on the packs with water and supplies for the hike. We walked in silence, Chloe hanging behind Lila and I until we came upon a group of about a dozen mostly women whom I assumed were our fellow hikers. Girls, there's more to the hike. This will be fun. Just you wait. I looked back at Chloe, who was scrolling through something on her phone, even though I was positive she said we didn't have any service. Oh my gosh, is that who I think it is? Lila dropped my arm, walked ahead as the guide noticed us. She was a middle-aged woman with a large circular hat and army green socks that stopped right below her kneecaps. As our eyes met, my soul somehow knew this woman was in her element, outside with nature. I felt the reassurance I needed to let go for this trip. Hello, are you Veronica? She asked with a toothy smile, eyes wide as if she was about to tell me I'd won $1 million. I nodded to her as I took in the other women around me. 3 college-age girls huddled not far from us, and from the way my oldest was gawking, I assumed she knew them. Another older woman knelt down, adjusting her pack on the opposite side of the group of college girls. Amazing, so there should be a total of 10 of us heading out on the trail, the guide began. We will be meeting up with some early birds at the campsite around noon when we stop for lunch. As our guide outlined the trail route, I noticed something odd about the map she was holding. The trails seemed to shift slightly, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. I blinked hard, wondering if it was just my fatigue playing tricks on my eyes. "Mom," Chloe whispered, tugging at my sleeve. "Do you hear that?" I fell silent, and that's when it reached my ears, a low, pulsing hum coming from somewhere deep in the mountain. It wasn't mechanical, more like singing. The college girls kept chattering, but the elderly woman adjusting her pack had stopped moving entirely. Her eyes met mine, and I knew she heard it too. There was something knowing in her gaze. The sound faded before I could point it out to Lila, who was still focused on the college group. The guide cleared her throat and continued as if nothing had happened, but I noticed her hand trembling slightly as she pointed out our route on the map. I adjusted the straps on my backpack, trying to shake off the strange feeling that had settled over me. Everything was perfect, or at least it should have been. I looked over at Chloe, who only rolled her eyes and looked around us, but there was a new tension in her shoulders that hadn't been there before. "Excuse me," one of the group of college girls spoke. Lila nudged me in my side. "That's her. That's Nevaeh." I looked at the young lady speaking. "So I just want to find out about the sleeping arrangements." The guide nodded her head. "Yes, our scout Nate is at the location now, setting up the airstreams that we will be sleeping in for our first night of the hike." Chloe grabbed my arm. "Mom, did she just say first night? What's she talking about?" I turned and looked down at her, seeing the questions spiraling in her head. "An adventure, like I said last night when I told you to pack for a hike." She dropped my arm. I didn't bring clothes to camp. Her face was contorted in annoyance. But I looked over to my eldest, who was jumping up and down, trying to hide her excitement. My heart swelled at her happiness. I wished I could connect with Chloe just the same as I did with Lila. "This isn't just a regular day hike." My daughters both turned their heads and glared at me with confusion. Only I didn't know how to explain that we were about to embark on a weekend luxury hiking camping adventure until my eyes landed on the newest arrival, and her eyes told it all. "Hello, ladies. If you would give me your attention, this will be the last call to secure your place on this one-of-a-kind, overnight luxury in the woods experience that will transform your life for the better," announced the guide. Chloe pulled frantically at my arm. "I didn't bring any of my face creams." The worry in her eyes tugged at my heart. If only she knew that it didn't matter. "My name is Elle Jackson," the guide continued, "and ladies, this weekend will be one to remember for the rest of your lives." Ella's words hung in the air with an unexpected weight, and somewhere in the distance, that strange humming started again. Chloe continued fidgeting next to me as our guide addressed the group. "Mom, is this that overnight hiker's dream we've been seeing on Instagram?" Lila asked. "Yup." They both sighed. Lila's eyes were happy, but Chloe's looked like she wanted to murder someone. "Before you say anything that would make me want to step out of my mothering role," I gave them both a stern eye. "It's just one night. I brought your creams. Plus there is something I have to share with you girls when we reach the peak." I gave them the best toothless smile I could muster, even with my heart racing. Grabbing both of their hands, we turned back to the guide, Elle, as another woman and man with the same khaki pants and wide-brimmed hat walked to her. The palms of my girls' hands became sweaty, and Lila pulled away first. As I observed my daughter's feigned disinterest with the college girls, but her stolen glances gave away her true intentions. "That girl over there with the pink tips is Nevaeh, Mom." Lila turned at an angle that made her appear to be checking her phone, when it was clear she was eyeing the group of girls. "I see," taking another glimpse of the college girls. They seemed pretty regular to me. "Hello, good morning, everyone," the older male guide said, after sipping some liquid from a styrofoam cup. His beard was long and was graying at the tips. I envied his beverage. I would do anything for the magnificent black brew I became addicted to when I was a young mom. "My name is Steve, and I will be your safety guide today. Think of me as that nice man in the woods that'll protect you from any bears." He lifted his hands to pretend to maw us, which somehow caused me to giggle. This was exactly what we needed. Something new, something fresh to get my mind off the struggles we had ahead of us. Ella and our newest member, Maria, here will be guiding you to a magical, mystically womanly paradise adventure. As Steve waved his fingers in the air, I noticed Ella watching him intently, her expression unnervingly serious. The humming sound returned, stronger now, and this time I could have sworn I saw Steve's fingers leaving trails of light in the air. He quickly dropped his hands and tossed his cup in the bin. "All right, ladies, this is the time to use the restrooms. Double check you've grabbed all necessary items you think you may need, as we are expected back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., Maria bellowed as she walked around the group. I looked at my girls. Lila was still trying not to appear to be gawking at the college group. She was even snapping pics now with her phone low in her hands. I looked down at Chloe, her face suddenly riddled with uncertainty. I reached for her hand. "What's wrong, honey?" She sighed slowly. "I don't know. Something just doesn't feel right about going on a wilderness hike after everything that's been happening." I nodded because she was right. "I understand what you're saying, but getting out here in this..." I gestured up into the early morning sky, grateful for living in the best state for nature lovers, California. "I'm just excited to be breathing this mountain air with my girls." I leaned into her, nudging her softly. Okay, let's just get ahead of the college clique, or else Lila won't pay attention to anything on this hike," Chloe said, her shoulder no longer hunched over. My heart swelled, knowing my girl was back. Chloe walked off, grabbing her sister's arm along the way. "Lovely girls you have." I looked back to the older lady at the welcome area, who had appeared beside me so suddenly I almost jumped. "Oh, thank you. They are my everything." I felt a tug in my chest and the dread of telling them my diagnosis. "The name's Sandy. I don't like small talk, so I'll see you at the first check-in." She paused, then added in a lower voice, "Watch the shadows. They move differently here." She smiled as she walked off, and I noticed I was the only one left in our group. "Mom, come on already. The clique is already right behind Elle and the other guide." Smiling as I rushed towards Chloe, we started the hike, bringing up the rear. Lila skipped as she walked ahead of us, bobbing her head to some music that sounded like muffled sounds of an old washing machine. Chloe remained quiet next to me, and I was grateful to use the time to figure out how to tell her. "So promises go both ways, you understand?" "Okay." She furrowed her brow as I tried to find the words. I cleared a scratch in my throat. "There's something I want you and your sister to know about my health, and I'm trying to find the right way to tell you both, but I don't think there is any." "Lila, hold it," Chloe demanded. I watched as Lila stopped, sliding off her headphones. "What's up? Did you see him?" I squinted at my daughter. "See who?" "Shh, no, Mom's got something to tell us," Chloe hissed. I looked between the girls, their subtle movements at my sudden news. "Oh, okay, what's going on, Mom?" Lila asked. "Well, there's more to this hiking adventure, and..." "There's the bunny! Oh my gosh, look, Mom!" The ground shook before I could respond. Not the rolling tremor of California earthquake, but sharp, deliberate pulses that sent rocks skittering down the slope beside us. Ella shouted something about taking cover, but her words were drowned out by a deafening crack. The trail ahead of us collapsed inward, taking Nevaeh's group and Sandy with it. Lila screamed as I grabbed both my girls, pulling them back. When the dust settled, we found ourselves cut off from half the group with the college girls, Sandy, and Steve, somewhere on the other side of a massive cave-in. "Everyone okay?" Ella called out, her earlier cryptic manner replaced with calm authority. She pulled a strange silver device from her pack that definitely wasn't standard hiking gear. That's when Chloe grabbed my arm so hard it hurt. "Mom," she whispered, pointing to the newly exposed cave wall. "Look." In the fresh rock face, perfectly preserved, was a handprint. a human handprint. But it had 6 fingers, and it glowed with a faint, phosphorescent light that pulsed in time with the mountain's hum. The bunny Chloe had spotted earlier hopped past the strange marking, paused, and twitched its nose at us. In the dim light of the cave-in, I could have sworn it had not 1, but 3 tails. As it disappeared into the shadows, I realized with growing certainty that my illness might not be the biggest secret I needed to share with my girls today. Ellie's voice cut through the silence. "We need to move, now before they come looking for us." "Before who comes looking for us?" Lila asked, her voice shaking. The humming grew louder, and somewhere in the darkness, something answered. Savage Devotion is written by Elijah Sawyer. New episodes release every Sunday. Don't miss a moment of this primal journey. Subscribe now and turn on notifications to be the first to hear as each new episode unfolds.